Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's extremely packed meeting of the Executive. I need to inform all of you that the proceedings are being filmed, as you can see on the left-hand side. Also, can I remind you all to turn your mobile phones on to silent, or preferably turn them off. We have a huge agenda, something like 17 or 18 questions. So I'm going to make a request around the questions. So any questions that are in the pack or the supplementaries where the individual isn't here, unless there's somebody else who's going to put that question on their behalf, they will get written answers. When you come up to the microphone here, please can you not read out your questions? We are a huge agenda and also a special executive council to get in, and some of us would like to get home before midnight. Those questions will be up, in fact they're up on the website now, and the answers will be up fairly soon afterwards, so nobody will be missing anything there. So having said that, we'll move to the minutes, pages 1 to 9. Any questions or queries, comments on the minutes? No? Okay, so I will sign those minutes. Apologies?
Councillor Charlotte Taylor will be late.
Yeah. Declarations of interest, item 86. Okay, Anthony first.
I am an unpaid non-executive chairman of Optus, and I have a personal interest in item 105, Council and Companies Business. I'm advised, however, this is not prejudicial, and therefore I may participate in the discussion and can vote on the matter.
My husband is a paid non-executive director of WBC Holdings Limited, and I'm therefore declaring a personal interest in item 105, Council and Companies Business. I'm advised his interest is non-prejudicial, therefore I can participate in the discussion and vote.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Nope. So we'll move on to the exciting bit, public question time. Just before I call up, I think Mrs. Axel here, before I call her up for her question 87.01, I do want to make a statement because there has been some recurring themes within the questions, and because of the interest of time, so I make a statement we can hopefully make our answers a little bit less wordy. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Right. It's to do with predetermination of the planning application. There has been some extremely serious allegations aimed at the planning committee by the spokesperson of AGRAG and their supporters in the media, and in some of the questions submitted for tonight's meeting. They allege that the committee has already made up their mind on the two Arborfield planning applications. In other words, the majority of councillors, e.g. 5 or more, have predetermined the application in advance of the actual meeting. It is extremely serious in that individual councillors can be prosecuted with penalties that could include jail if found guilty of predetermination. Predetermination in planning decision-making terms specifically refers to situations where a member of the planning committee makes up their mind as to how they will vote on an application before they have heard and or considered all of the relevant evidence and material considerations. The relevant law and guidance is clear. A member cannot be held to have predetermined, i.e. prematurely made up their mind on an application solely because they may have previously expressed a particular view on an application and or had prior discussions with the applicant, provided they retain an open mind on the matter, and when it comes time for them to vote, they do so having had regard to all of the relevant evidence. In the case of these applications, there is absolutely nothing to indicate that any of the members of the planning committee, including the lead member for planning, will not be voting with an open mind, and consequently there is no evidence of predetermination. More specifically, the allegations from AGRAG only mentions one member of the planning committee having had any contact with the applicant, and doesn't mention the other 8 committee members. Since AGRAG have alleged the decision has already been made, implies that these other 8 members have also made up their minds. It is extremely sad that AGRAG decided to attack their reputations in this way. Thank you. So I'll move on to question number 1. Suzanne, if you'd like to come up.
What's my response?
You need to, for recording, you need to come
I'm
in.
not going to say anything until I've heard. Don't mean to talk to you, it's just that
Okay.
make some notes, so then
That's
I can
fine.
respond.
Then you'll have to move up for your
Yeah.
record. That's absolutely not a problem. John?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm replying to a question asked by Susan Sachs with regards to the planning application that Keith has just alluded to. When determining major applications, any planning authority will enter into negotiations with developers to secure schools, parks, open spaces, community buildings and affordable housing, etc. A school is but one of element in the many infrastructure items being negotiated with the developers for Arborfield SDL. Some of this will be provided directly on the land affected, others by contributions on or off-site. All this is a normal process. The developer has to facilitate or provide all these infrastructure elements as part of their application in order to justify their development proposals against our adopted policies. Because the law says this is how we must determine applications. In essence, that means that Crest is doing what they must do to pass the statutory test to comply with our adopted policies and plans. In these circumstances, it has to be reasonable and normal for us to negotiate these matters in parallel with the process of the planning application. This is not predetermination. Our plans and policies say there will be a strategic site at Arborfield of 3,500 houses, with a secondary school in the location being considered. There is nothing unusual about the approach that this council is taking. Determination will be made by the planning committee in due course, and they will be acquainted with your views and those of other consultees when they determine the proposal. It is in everybody's interest to get this work precisely, so we get a well-planned and well-designed development with the appropriate infrastructure necessary for the development to be successful. Fundamentally, the strategic development location, Arborfield, needs a school because of the new housing. If there was to be no new housing, then the plans for the new school would be different. The council has contingency plans for school places in the event there are any delays in delivery of the settlement. However, it is our policy to deliver this strategic site, and we are committed to fulfilling this objective with all the accompanying infrastructure. As it stands at this point, we are making good progress in securing the delivery of these objectives. Turning to your comments about the document Initial Feasibility for Infrastructure Delivery Timescales to enable the school site at Arborfield Garrison, which is dated the 15th of August 2014. For clarity, this document was produced by Crest Nicholson for the purpose of demonstrating to the council that they could provide a clear and service site for the school, which would be available in time for the school to be constructed and delivered by the council's target date of 2016. Within the appendices, Appendix C is an indicative programme of works proposed by Crest. This document does not in any way bind the council in respect of how it deals with the Crest application, much less give a rise to predetermination. The council has been dealing and will continue to deal with the Crest application as the circumstances properly require, and any recommendation which is ultimately made to the planning committee on this application will be based solely on the planning merits of the proposed scheme. As previously explained, the planning application for a secondary school is a standalone application, independent of the Crest application. Dealing with the comments from Crest's representative, I believe this was Mr. Scott Black of Crest, how Mr. Black chooses to respond to media inquiries is obviously a matter for him, though it is probably to be expected that a developer will be positive about their application being successful. Regardless, this has no bearing on how the council will deal with Crest's application, which, as I have stated above, will be determined solely on its own merits. And I can assure you there will be no nodding heads at our planning committee. The wording of the question you seek to place with the council does leave us in a bit of an invidious position, where were we to approve the Crest application because we needed the school and might constitute predetermination in your assertion, not ours. And if we were to refuse the application, we would be letting down the community because of the potential delay in delivering the new school. Thank you.
I'm sure you've got a supplementary. Would you like to make your way to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to pick up on quite a few points you made and also ask a supplementary question. Well, first of all, let me assure you that I know the purpose of my question, and it was not to put you in an invidious position. You put yourselves in that position by making an unqualified political commitment. You say there is nothing unusual about the approach that this council is taking, but what I don't see as usual is Woking Borough Council issuing another press statement on the 5th of November in response to questions being raised by residents, saying Woking Borough Council is confident it is on track to deliver a new secondary school in Arborfield by September 2016. I question again on what basis you are confident when you knew delivery of the school is linked to Crest Nicholson's planning application being approved, and you couldn't possibly have known the outcome of the statutory public consultation, which had only just started. By the 5th of November 2014, you had not heard from the Environment Agency, Hampshire County Council, Reading Borough Council, Sports England, Arborfield and Barkham Parish Council, all of whom objected, and the majority of local residents, the vast majority of whom also objected to this application. It seems to me officers and members at the highest level had made such a strong public commitment to open the secondary school by September 2016 that it is reasonable to question how open-minded Woking Borough Council can be to any objections raised in the statutory public consultation. Although Keith Baker has belatedly admitted to the link, this has not fully dealt with the question mark over Woking Borough Council's open mind. For example, I understand it is usual...
Excuse me, Mrs. Sykes. Can you I've given you a long...
No, I have to
please.
Finish. I have to... I'm
You're
nearly
making
there.
a speech. Can you get to your supplementary,
I'm-
please?
I
I've let
have
you
to-
go on. Please, I've let you go on.
I have had months of my time wasted by
But-
my
But
questions
we
not being
have,
answered.
we
I
have the
understand.
process here.
I have to
I've
finish.
allowed you to go on. Please, can you move to your supplementary?
No, because I haven't. I have to make these points. It's absolutely vital.
Please, Mrs. Sykes. Look,
Surely
this
I
is a
have a right.
public, democratic...
Yes, but you've just
principle.
wasted about 5 minutes, and I could have finished what I was
Excuse
about
me,
to say.
please, can you get to your supplementary? That's
Well,
what
I have to
we're here
leave.
for.
You
I have given you the latitude for the last 2 or 3 minutes. So please, can you move
but
to
the
your...
answer was so much longer than what I'm about to say. I could have actually finished it by the time we've argued about it. I don't feel that I should be allowed to come back on the points that have been made. You've made a serious
That is
allegation
what
against
supplementary
us.
questions are all about, to come back on the
Yes, I
answer.
am coming back on the points that have been made in the answer. Right, where was I? Woking Borough Council, right, here we are. So what I'm saying is that, for example, I understand it's usual to expect the applicant for this size of development to submit a travel plan. Yet in this case, Hampshire County Council, Reading Borough Council and the Highways Agency commented on the absence of a travel plan. And instead of asking the applicant to submit a travel plan, Woking Borough Highways councillors are scrabbling together a travel plan themselves.
Discuss the planning committee.
This seems neither normal nor appropriate, as the highways officers will be in an invidious position to not only will they put their plan together, but also
Please,
then
can we
they'll be...
have your question? You can make this speech at the planning application, and it clearly is a speech. So can you please ask your supplementary...
I'm together my points.
I've asked you several times. Can you please
Right,
ask your
I'll do
supplementary?
my... Finally, I realise that a school is a prerequisite of the proposed development, but not by September 2016. And I understand why parents do want the school. But, however, as you say, you have contingencies for the school places. What I'm saying is that, therefore, I think that a robust and objective assessment of the planning applications for 3,500 new houses should take priority over a political commitment to get the secondary school up and running by 2016. Let's not forget these applications will affect the lives of 10,000 existing households as well as the 3,500 new households. So do you agree that making Woking Borough Council's planning application process objective and including proper and well thought through travel plans for sustainable transport must take priority over your political commitment relating to the timing of the secondary school? If not, I think the Crest Nicholson application should be called in by the Secretary of State. Thank you.
Can I answer that one? Because we can't make that commitment because what you're asking for is the individual to make a predetermination because of the link. And we've already said that they can't do that, to actually say one application should override another, which is effectively what you're saying. So we can't. Thank you for your speech. We'll move on to the next question. Is Claire Hickman here? Right, so is Jill Purchase here? No. Is Sue Hayward here? No. Is Terry Sack here? No. That's fine. Okay, I'll provide you that answer, but only on the proviso that you do not get another speech. You've had your platform, you've actually taken time up from a lot of other people. If you want to have speeches, do it at the application or stand for election. So this is 8705. Just bear with me. Right. There are certain allegations about me personally on this one and in your question about receipt of a document and, in this particular case, agreeing on a press release. Unfortunately, I was in China between the 8th and the 30th of August, where any of you who've been to China, you will know that email access is severely limited and in most days inaccessible. Therefore, I was unable to receive the study document on the 15th or agree, as alleged, to any press release on the 20th. I just wanted to clear that up. As we've explained many times already, the decision is made by the planning committee, not by the chief executive or the leader or any officer. The committee is made up of 9 councillors, with only one of them having any contact with the developer. Your very strong statements imply that those 8 members, including 2 Liberal Democrats, have already made up their minds before the committee. Such false accusations may harm their reputations, and I actually call on IGRAG to issue a public apology to those 8 councillors. Clearly, the allegation of predetermination is based on evidence which is seriously flawed, as we've explained several times already. Therefore, there is no basis for me to refer this to the Secretary of State. However, if IGRAG really believes that they have such a strong case to answer, then there is nothing to stop them from raising it directly with the Secretary of State. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I think constitutionally only the questioner can ask supplementary. I'm not going to allow any supplementary. Is Sam Dredger here? Clearly these questions are that important that people can't turn up. We'll move on to members' question time. Is there one more? Sorry. Good. Yep. Hi, Jess. Sorry. Do you want to...
Thank you very much. My question is to Angus. The report of the Waste Regulations item 100 looks at action the Council is taking to ensure it satisfies the requirements of recent EU legislation on the separation of recyclables, generally known as TEEP. The Council has stopped the amenity vehicle service referred to on page 176. At the time the decision was taken, the meeting was told that the service had to stop because it did not separate recyclables and therefore did not meet the TEEP regulations. The Council's waste collection service includes trucks which are split, with one half taking general waste in blue bags and the other half commingled recyclables from black boxes. Why was one of these vehicles, which satisfy TEEP as far as the rest of the waste collection is concerned, not used as the amenity vehicle instead of stopping the service, which is valued by many residents across the borough?
Thank you for your question, Clive, and the opportunity to clarify that matter. It is correct that our refuse vehicles are split and have the ability to collect both refuse in blue bags and commingled recycling at the same time, but we do make every effort to get waste diverted from the blue bag to the black boxes or other methods. The message on the bags makes it clear, i.e. that glass, garden waste and the black box materials should be recycled rather than placed within the bag. This fulfills our aspiration to move waste up the waste hierarchy as much as possible. In other words, we look to reuse and recycle rather than landfill from curbside collections. You'll recall the issue with the amenity service was that all of the waste collected from this service ended up in landfill. The waste that had historically been collected via the amenity service has been varied: electrical, bulky, green waste, glass, etc. The use of the split-bodied vehicles would be impractical for this varied collection because it includes more types of recycling than can be collected via the black box. As with curbside collections, the aspiration to move waste up the waste hierarchy remains for any other service, and a split-bodied vehicle does not necessarily enable this to happen because the 50-50 split would prevent a significant number of bulky items being taken, as they wouldn't physically fit into the vehicle, and the vehicle would need to contain 20 different compartments to replicate the same availability for reuse or recycling as the household waste recycling centres, at small, medium and long shop. Therefore, commingled materials delivered to a split vehicle for the amenity service would still be in breach of TEEP, as it could be proven that technically, environmentally, economically and practically taking them to the HWRC is that's the Waste Recycling Centre, is a better option, as it moves the 20 material streams up the waste hierarchy from landfill to reuse or recycling.
I'm sure you've got a supplementary.
Yes, thank you. Angus, you've said that you'll work with town and parish councils on this issue, which is repeated in the agenda. But you've already shut down the service, and many of the town and parish councils are not happy with this. What have you actually done about working with town and parish councils?
Firstly, we made the offer to the town and parish councils. The waste manager met a number of the town clerks who were interested and concerned with this, and has also offered them, and they had a meeting about 10 days ago, a meeting at Smallmead to see the operation there. So we have had an open door to talking with the towns and parishes to answer their questions, and I think most of them, for instance, I saw a very responsible reply in the Finch Hampstead magazine, which is sent out electronically, advising residents how they could still conform to our waste recycling wishes without the use of the amenity service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If that's it now, we can move on to the members' questions. The first one is from Michael Furniture.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Mine's a very short question, so I shall read it out for the benefit of the camera. Could the Executive Member for Planning and Highways outline the success of the cycleway along Lower Early Way in my ward of Hawkton?
Thank you for the question, Michael. This is part of our ambition to join up the borough with cycleways. The cycleway was built to obviously to provide a safe facilities for cyclists and pedestrians to use. It's a real option for people wanting to travel along the route of Lower Early Way, which we know is quite a fast road. We have installed automatic counters along the route as part of the scheme, but it's too late to judge. But from what I was hearing from local members, that the usage of the cycleway, not only by cyclists but also runners and people, is quite substantial. The good thing about these, I mean, it's our ambition to actually, it's our ambition to join up the borough, is that please remember all these cycleways are being paid for either by developers or by government grants, so there is no cost to the residents. Thank you.
Oh,
Supplementary?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've got a very quick supplementary. I just really wondered, you did touch on it a little bit in your answer there. What other plans are there for other such cycleways in the borough of Wokingham?
Well, as you know, you can go from the Black Boy in Shinfield now all the way to Showcase Cinema. The next plan is to be able to go from Showcase Cinema all the way to Winnersh, and then from Winnersh all the way from there into the town centre, taking in 5 schools, which will enable, and then finally the final stretch will take you all the way through to Coppy Beach, which will include most of the schools in and around the town centre. So hopefully that's the full programme.
Thank you very much. I'm sure the residents and everyone else will be delighted. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Norman Jorgensen? Councillor Jorgensen, would you like to come up and ask a question?
Thanks very much. Mine again is fairly short, so I will read it out. The Highways Agency has recently carried out consultation on the plan for 4-lane running on the section of the M4 passing through Wokingham Borough with the aim of increasing capacity. This will also increase the noise suffered by those living near the motorway. Please will the Executive Member for Highways add further pressure by writing on behalf of Wokingham Borough Council to the relevant Minister, supporting the case already made by John Edward MP to provide noise mitigation measures as part of the scheme on the sections of the M4 near houses, including those in Airlie, Shinfield, Winnersh, and other parts of North Wokingham and Hurst.
Thank you, Norman. We have, as you know, submitted the response to the consultation on smart motorway proposals for the M4 between junction 12 and 13. The Council supports the objectives of the scheme and specifically welcomes the acknowledgement that the M4 motorway needs to improve to reduce congestion and support the economy. In our response, we also highlighted air quality management area that currently exists along the length of the M4 in Wokingham Borough. As the Council has no direct influence over making positive changes to the environment in this vicinity of the motorway, we strongly requested that the Highways Agency not only mitigate any adverse impact of the scheme, but work to improve the environment even further. We also pointed out that with regards to noise, while the scheme proposes the use of low noise surfaces, which they call TSCS, in some locations, residents that live adjacent to the motorway have endured constant and increasing noise pollution for many years. The introduction of the smart motorway scheme will move running lanes closer to receptors, thus causing more discomfort for residents. The Council believe that the Highways Agency should take this opportunity to address this issue for our residents to improve their quality of life and implement additional noise mitigation wherever possible. The consultation finished on the 21st of December 2014, and we hope that all members were able to submit their own response to the consultation on these matters, which we consider to be very important.
I'm assuming you have a supplementary.
I do, you're quite right. Thanks for that response. And yes, I did put a thing in for the consultation. They've actually acknowledged that back today, so we'll see all the comments and how they respond to them in due course. My follow-up question, in a response this week to a letter from John Redwood, the Highways Agency has acknowledged that there are 7 noise hotspots on the stretch of motorway to be covered by the scheme, and that they already have plans to erect noise barriers at Mill Lane and Sindlesham, which is a start, and John is continuing to press for further noise mitigation in other places. In our letter to the Highways Agency, please will we include the location of the specific hotspots in our borough, including those in the Hillside Ward and Alley, which I represent, which is the stretch passing Finbell, Heacham, Maltby and Naughton, and nearby in Hopton Ward, which is Rainworth, Bradnor and Farnsfield. I would also like to be involved in the drafting of the letter, please.
Well, first off, Norman, there's no problem with you being involved in the drafting of the letter. I suggest that what we do, it's nice to be able to use the ammunition that they acknowledge there are 7 hotspots. And I believe what we will do is ask officers to submit a supplementary to our consultation, pointing out that this is the case and we've got this information that they pass to John Redmond and ask them what they're going to do about it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay, can I beg you not to read?
I will be helpful this evening.
Thank you.
My question is to
You're always
yourself,
helpful.
Keith. I shall shorten my question just to the last paragraph, if I may. And it's about the council-owned companies. Will you ensure that up-to-date information related to the council-owned companies, including that which is still missing from my previous request, is made available at all times to ensure openness, transparency and accountability to local taxpayers and to ensure the integrity of the council?
Oops, sorry. And I'll shorten my answer to yes. But can I make a request that have a look at it, and I'm sure you do. If it's still... No, wait a second. If there's anything in there that you still think is inadequate, can you just contact me rather than wait for another month for another council, executive council? We can sort this out without having these sorts of things, right?
I have a supplementary.
Have a
Sorry, I've got the glasses on. While we're on the subject of not giving full and up-to-date information related to the council-owned companies, would you explain why item 105 of this agenda, council-owned companies business, does not include the information that there has been a change in directorship for Optilis? According to the Companies House website, the Managing Director, Andrew Pickup, has not been a director since the 11th of December.
If just 105, page 105, you said?
Item
Oh, okay.
Item 105.
So thank you. If there's something missing there, I will look to officers to correct. Graham?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, the change in managing director has been reported here. If it's not in this report, then I believe it's come to a previous one, but I will double check.
Again, when you spot that, because these agendas do come out, I know it's only a week early, please let us know. You know, errors do, when you've got this much in an agenda, errors do creep in, and we can get those corrected. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. Councillor Tim Holton.
Thank you. I welcome the work that's being carried out at the Showcase roundabout at the moment. There have been a number of instances when the lights have failed, and I'm glad that this council has been proactive in providing a solution. However, the work has caused congestion on what is already a very busy route. Please can you update myself and the residents as to the upgrading of the signalisation? Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Basically, as part of a survey on all traffic signals across the borough, it revealed that much of the equipment we have was past its end of life. Posts were corroded and the associated cabling, the electrical equipment was becoming unreliable. And as you probably know on that junction, that's just unacceptable. One of the sites that was identified as needing urgent attention was the Showcase Cinema roundabout. Several faults were reported in the lights over the Christmas period, resulting in some periods where the lights were not working at all. This roundabout is the most complex junction in the borough, with 64 signalled traffic heads and more than 111 signals in total. More than 100,000 vehicles pass through it each day. making it one of the busiest, if not the busiest junction in the borough. There are also essential pedestrian crossings. There are no plans to change the sequence of the lights. The new lights will be LEDs, which will be more cost effective and will require less maintenance. They will also incorporate cycle crossing facilities into the junction. At the moment, the junction is set up to operate as a roundabout, whilst the signals are replaced. The congestion experienced during the work demonstrates a need for this junction to be properly signalised. Various options for managing traffic during the works were considered. However, there are limited opportunities to provide alternatives, particularly during peak hours when so much of the network is congested. Due to the age of the control unit at the junction, it is not possible for us to turn off some of the lights while we work on part of the junction. The new lights will have that facility. I can tell you though that the lights and the work is expected to be finished by the end of February.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No supplementary? Okay, thank you. Councillor Prue-Brett.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Before I ask my question, which is relatively short, with reference to Norman's question about the M4, if all local members who have got wards that go along the M4 could be involved in the drafting of the letter, it would be gratefully received. Thank you. My question is for Julian. With relation to item 102, changes to charging for adult social care services from April 2015, I am concerned that the increase in the charges may result in a reduction in the number of visits to day centres, making those day centres less viable and putting their continued existence at risk. If this happens, what alternative arrangements would be made to enable the same level of activity and social interaction for the clients and the same level of respite for the carers?
Great, thank you very much for your question, Prue. Our analysis shows that of approximately 470 people that attend day centres each week, 45 have elected or are assessed to pay the full cost. It is doubtful, therefore, that there will be a significant enough reduction in the numbers to threaten the viability of the day centres, even if all those affected stop attending due to the new charges. But that is unlikely to happen. Firstly, because there is a commitment to cap the charges at an additional £50 per week for those whom the new charge will apply, and for the first 2 years, within the first 2 years. And secondly, because the day centre attendance at approximately £45 to £60 per day continues to represent excellent value for money for personal care and a programme of activities. To that extent, for instance, the majority of attendees at Woodley Age Concern are private fee-paying payers who contract directly with Woodley Age Concern and presumably are happy to pay the full fee. The second point to note is that the charges will only apply to those who can afford to pay. For example, if they have more than £23,250 in savings. Generally, those with over this threshold are responsible for making their own care arrangements. That is to say, they are deemed to be able to meet their own needs and they are obliged to pay the market rate for the services provided. Social services would only become involved if the person, although able to afford to pay for the care services, was not capable of arranging their own care. Ergo, those whose care is arranged by social services are likely to continue to attend, as is the most cost-effective way for social care to meet their needs. In conclusion, the risk to the viability for the day services is very remote. The issue here is that, unlike the NHS, social care is not free at the point of need. It is means tested. Those who can afford to pay are asked to pay.
Thank you for that answer, which does provide some reassurance about them, which has been worrying some people. I think we remember the last time this item came up when it went out to consultation, I asked a question about the double-handed visits and the impact of that. As a consequence of that, bear in mind that this is going to kick in gradually, it will take 2 years to implement, and then there'll be a third year when it's fully in operation. Would you undertake to do an annual review of the impact on all the areas which have changed for the next 3 years so that you can check that it's not having some unintended consequences?
We feel that there are a small number of people where this will affect them, and we think it's actually wrong that other people should actually subsidise their care. But going forward, we will constantly look at this, as we always do with any care that we provide, to make sure that it's fit for purpose and that it's actually affordable. But as I say, the point is, it only affects people if they have savings in excess of £23,250. So I think if they do, and they've declared that,
then they should actually pay towards their own care. But there are extenuating circumstances there where people have that amount, but they have extenuating reasons why they should be considered separately. We will and are able to consider that.
Thank you. Councillor Kay-Gilbert.
Thank you. My question is very short. Will you guarantee that the nominal £1 charge for the bus users parking at the new Park and Ride sites will not go up in the future?
Thank you, Kay. When the new car park and ride sites at Winnersh and Miroke are open in April, there will be a charge to park the car. The bus user will be charged £1 for parking all day, and for non-bus users the charge will be in line with other council car parks, which is £4 a day. This, when you relate it to £6 for 2 hours in Reading, just shows what a bargain it is. The council review historically reviews the car parking charges annually, and any increase in charges are agreed by the council's executive. Despite the high demand for parking, increased costs and the pressure on our revenue budget, car parking charges in Wokingham have not changed in the last 4 years. So I cannot give you a guarantee they won't go up. I can just tell you that our history on this subject is pretty good.
I do have a supplementary. Where is the equality impact assessment that relates to this item? We have asked for it, but have not yet received it.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware you've actually asked for it. Who have you asked for it from?
Our political assistant has asked the officer concerned directly for it some time ago.
Okay, well I'll look into it and get back to you.
Thank you.
It may be one of those that some, I believe some don't actually have to have an equality.
We haven't had a reply for it.
We'll make sure
We'll make sure you get a reply whether it's needed or not.
Would somebody like to ask Tom?
Tom's question relates to the flooding item, and if you read the question, you will understand he's asking what happened to the consultation response that we put in. The item has been withdrawn. I'm sure Angus will explain why we won't come to that point of the agenda. So we've left the question tabled because it's useful to have that information, but he isn't here because there's no point in asking it now.
I think Angus would like to make a statement anyway.
Chairman, I think it would be useful at this stage of the meeting, rather than later on, in case there's people in the audience waiting for that item. The question relates to the local flood risk management strategy, and what I have to say is that it was produced in keeping with the guidance issued by DEFRA and the specific requirements of the Flood and Water Management Act. It sets out 6 key objectives, and each objective has a series of measures that we'll use to determine how effectively the borough is meeting those objectives. In addition, Chapter 8 of the strategy, as it has been drafted, is an action plan for delivery of the objectives. And the measures and proposed actions associated with each objective are set out in more detail, along with a broad assessment of financial implications and timescale for delivery. One of the first actions to come out of the strategy will be to prepare a more detailed programme for delivery of the action. And of course we have to work with the Environment Agency and other parties for that. It should be noted that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee received an annual report on flooding in the borough, and this will be an ideal opportunity for members to track progress against the strategy objectives. Unfortunately, some of the replies to the consultation on the strategy were not received by the drainage team and therefore were not taken into account when the strategy was revised. We have now received those responses, and literally this was the beginning of this week. We've chosen to delay bringing the strategy to executive for approval so as all of the consultation responses can be given due consideration. On behalf of the Council, I do apologise that the Lib Dem and other consultation responses were not identified and incorporated. We will be doing this, assessing them and making any further amendments before bringing this back next month for adoption. Whilst this delay is regretted, work will be proceeding meanwhile on the action plan. And just to reiterate, item 99 will not be taken tonight.
Thank you, and clearly we're trying to find out what had happened. We want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Thank you. So we'll move on to the reports. Item 89, revenue monitoring, pages 10 to 17. Anthony?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very briefly, the papers as you see them, we have a small overspend of 255,000, so that has been coming down during the year. And the papers are, I'm also pleased the reserves have kept up to just over 10 million. And you can see our investment portfolio, which is there to finance our long-term capital programme as well as some of our short-term. But I'll take any questions, Chairman.
So, any questions for Anthony, or can we go straight to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. Capital monitoring, pages 18 to 23.
As you can see, significant capital programme, largely on track. And again, I'll take, given timing issues, I'll take questions.
Any questions? No. All those in favour of the recommendation, cast no. Unanimous? Treasury, item 91, Treasury Management, pages 19 to 24 to 48.
Thank you. Yes, this is my this is a scintillating report, and it contains lots of very important and relevant information. Again, it links into the capital programme. You can see on page 25 we've got a £92 million project this year, though the spend is actually over 2 years. Page 30, we can see that the current inflation rate has been going down. It's now only 1.2% and likely 4 to 1, so that's substantial changes. Issues around the government debt position, 73 billion, and they're trying to reduce it by a further 24. Issues around the government borrowing requirements affect us significantly. Issues at the middle of page 31 about future interest rates on our council debt. Moving on, you can see the breakdown of the capital programme on 32. The relevance and limits on borrowings on page 35. We have to authorise limits which provide us with significant headroom. You can see our investments on page 37. A lot of technical data, and it sits around financing our capital programme, which also links in with our section 106, which I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Just a comment, Chairman, that I think the detail here shows how open our accounting and work is.
Thank you, Angus. So can I put it to a vote? There's 3 recommendations there on page 24. Are those in favour, please show? That's unanimous.
And the CFO report.
Another scintillating. Chief Financial Officer, 49 to 69.
Thank you, yes. This is an important scene setter for the medium-term financial plan and our council budget. Everyone's aware, and many of the public are also aware, that we have had reductions in our grant from government over the last few years. And that continues, and I'm afraid I expect it to continue into the future as well, regardless of who wins in May. And you can see the major summaries on page 49. There are various graphs on page 52. Page 53 is quite an interesting one in that it shows the impact of this reduction, both in percentage terms and in actual terms, taking into account inflation, transfer of resources, and increase in numbers of houses and residents. So you can see we've done very well to take on board and contribute to the savings, contribute to the overall national picture, and maintain our services to our residents. And I think it's a credit both to members around this table who've worked hard with senior officers to deliver the services in a new and innovative and cheaper way. Long may it continue.
So, any questions? All those in favour? That's unanimous. Something that's been a long time coming. Item 93, local planning enforcement plan, page 70 to 96. John?
Thank you, Chairman. This is basically to ask the executive for permission to take the plan to consultation. Before I do, I'd just like to say a few things. I was very surprised when I came to the council and I ended up with enforcement. I found out it was a discretionary service. Bearing in mind that we probably get 700 cases a year. That's 2 a day, every day, including Christmas Day and weekends. Our caseload's normally about 200. So it gives you the extent of the fact that the residents are concerned. This basically is the result of an independent review that John Sylvester came to the council to look at our enforcement service, and it was found the staff were committed and hard-working, and there was much in the way of good practice. However, the report did identify there were areas for improvement. They were the needs to ensure adequate resources, and I'm glad to say this year we've enacted that, and hopefully members will have seen and residents will have seen an improvement in the service, more proactive monitoring and a closer working relationship with local residents and town and parish councils. So what I'm here really doing is asking for you to give me permission to take this plan forward for consultation. And I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? Pauline?
Sorry, my arms are too short to reach the microphone. Just to say, yes, John, I think planning enforcement is sharpening up, and I very much appreciate it from the point of view of some activities that have happened in my ward recently. Page 81, I think, is a really useful table, and I think that would be useful to highlight both internally in our communications like our news and also maybe in the press, so that people really understand what planning enforcement is and what planning enforcement isn't. I think it would be very useful. It might cut down some of the planning enforcement queries that you get that actually are nothing to do with planning enforcement, and give more time for the really important ones.
Thank you, Pauline. I think page 81 is very interesting. I mean, one of the ones I would just point out, we have a lot of home workers in this borough. It is not illegal to run a business from your home, unless, of course, you've got 30 buses in the front yard and parked outside, and then it becomes a bit of a problem. But it is not illegal, so anybody who thinks it is, as I say, we have a lot of home workers working from home with IT, working smart. But no, thank you, Pauline, for those comments.
Any other questions? Angus?
Just a comment, Chairman, that we all know that all residents will never understand what planning and enforcement will be, but I think this is a very positive step to try and go as far as we can in how we deal with it and in getting that information out to the public.
Thank you, Angus. I mean, we will always encourage people to solve their own problems, but you can be assured where breaches are reported that give rise to planning harm, we will look to enforce using all the legal powers at our disposal, including prosecution via the courts. At the same time, looking to recover the costs incurred in pursuing such cases, and this will also, in some areas, will be proceeds of crime. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move straight to the vote. The recommendation on consultation on page 70. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Well done. Item 94, car parking charge at parking lights. John? Page 97.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, this is basically to confirm what we're going to be charging. This was a question that Becca asked earlier on. Basically, it's our new facility. We will be charging £1 a day for users of associated bus services and £4 a day for non-bus users. That's train and day parking. And I'm asking for the executive to agree these charges.
Do we have any questions? Anthony?
One comment. At top of page 99, I'm pleased that you are going to make this sure that it's cost neutral.
There's a surprise.
Thank you, Anthony. It seems strange charging £1 a day for park and ride, when I read the council will be required to make budget reductions in excess of £20 million over the next 3 years.
Any
You
more
can charge more
questions?
if you want.
Okay, put it to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendations on page 97, please show. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Something that's taken a long time, close to my heart. Item 95, page 100, community infrastructure levy, charging schedule. John.
Thank you, Chairman. Basically, I'm asking the executive to endorse the recommendations that the examiner's recommendations, I'm glad to say, have been to be accepted by the council. I mean, the community infrastructure levy schedule is on page 109, which is the examiner's recommendations for modifications. And if you look at page 131, that's a list of the infrastructure projects for which SIL may be used. And the instalment policy, that's how we get paid this, is 125. I mean, I would say the officers have worked extremely hard on this. It is among the highest SIL rate in the UK, which really reflects the need for the infrastructure that we need in the borough in response to the success and growth which we've experienced in Wokingham.
Anthony?
Yeah, just really want to welcome this because obviously it links into the capital programme, provides the finance for the few £100 million that we need to spend in order to build the communities and provide the facilities like schools that we referred to earlier.
Charlotte, then Pauline.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you assure residents that the SIL is like for like in terms of what the council will get back in order to pay for infrastructure from the S106?
I can't guarantee it'll be exactly like for like, but the evidence that we prepared these numbers on was based on what we've been receiving with regards to 106 payments.
Pauline?
I'd just like to welcome that. I think it's essential for infrastructure. A lot of our residents are suffering at the moment from far too much congestion. I hope that this money will be used to ease congestion caused by the new developments throughout the area, not just in the new development itself. There's no point easing the traffic in the new development if you then put it on a road that hasn't got enough capacity.
We do recognise, Pauline, that the impact on other junctions, and we will be using this money to look at those. When we do our traffic studies, they seem to be very wide. I mean, say they take into consideration not only the borough but surrounding boroughs. So where we've got pinch points, we'll be looking to make sure that they are eradicated, and this money will be used for that. The important thing to get it forward, to get it passed now, is the legislation changes with regards to S106, and it will mean if we don't have SIL, we can only pull up to 5 developments, which in some cases will not produce the sort of money we need to build secondary schools and relief roads.
Thank you, Chairman. 3 very quick points. One, I'm delighted with the level we've managed to achieve here, which I think was at the top end of our expectation. I'm delighted to see it. The second is, I do hope that when we get to the stage of working with parish councils and their proportion, we will have meaningful working together. Third point from my portfolio on the suitable alternate natural green space, in other words, the extra country parks we've got because of the heathland birds. I'm delighted because in the early days there was doubt that this in a regulatory way was going to fall between SIL and Section 106, that we have achieved that, so we can continue to get extra open space for the enjoyment of our residents.
Angus, thanks. I mean, I'm confident we have got the best deal we possibly can for the borough, and a lot of that is thanks to the hard work the officers have put in. As you say, when we put it forward, it was at the top of our expectations, but we've managed to achieve it.
Any other questions? I'll just finish off with a comment. I'd also like to thank all the members of the working group, for the SIL working group, which was a cross-party working group, one of many that we have within the council, which is actually true joint working across the parties. So can you please pass on my thanks to them as well, please, John?
I will, Chairman.
So all those in favour of the report and the recommendation? That's unanimous. Pauline, risk management policies 127 to 155.
Just like to introduce this paper. As you all know, we're obliged to review risk management process and policies every year. The risk management process and policy in here meets standard practices in risk management outside the council as well. There's a strengthened link to project management in particular to include the risk in projects. This has already been approved by the committee, and I would like your approval here for this minor change.
Any questions or comments? We'll move straight to the vote. Okay, the recommendations, there's two of them on page 127. All those in favour? That's unanimous. I think it's you again, Pauline.
It is.
Register of Commons and Town and Village Green. Sounds fascinating. 156 to 158.
Talking about our portfolio, but it's fascinating. This is something that we've only recently been able to do. Previously, we haven't been able to, people haven't been able to correct Register of Commons and Town and Village Green unless there's been a very significant error in them. This change in legislation allows us now to allow people to correct registers. We need to make a charge for it because it goes through the lawyers. This charge is in line with the cost. It's not a sort of profit-making charge. And to be perfectly honest, I don't expect it to be used very much, but we need a charge in case somebody does.
So any questions for Pauline? John?
Pauline, will we be advertising this information to the town and parishes?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
No more questions? I'll move straight to the vote. Or, page 156, the recommendations there. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. The next one is Angus. Climate Local, page 159.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a good news item. We signed the Nottingham Declaration back in 2007. I can't believe it was that long ago. And since then, the LGA started a new initiative called Climate Local, and already at least 92 authorities have signed up. It really reflects the actions that the Council is already doing and intends to do on energy conservation and environmental work. I think this is all well outlined in the report. It reinforces our sustainable environmental strategy, which is running from 2010 to 2020, and reinforces one of our vision for the Council of a great place to live and an even better place to do business. The action coming out of this is an action plan that must be produced within 6 months, which I look forward to bringing back, but meanwhile I ask that we sign up to Climate Local.
Thank you, Angus. Any questions or comments on that? Move straight to the vote. All those in favour are on page 159. Sign up to the Climate Local. Thank you. We're skipping the next item, 99, so it's Waste Regulations 174.
We reached the century, item number 100, Chairman. We've already referred to the waste regulations. There was a question from Clive Jones earlier. We feel that it was desirable to tell Council and residents and be open that our review required under legislation has confirmed that we are meeting the requirements under the 2011 waste regulations. The review was done as required by the 1st of January 2015, so this is the first opportunity to bring it to Executive. Two main tests which are shown up in the middle of page 175. Necessity seeks to ensure that waste is recovered from waste stream, including recycling, and of course the energy recovery in that a lot of our household waste does go to energy for waste. And that we meet the criteria of technically, environmentally and economically practicable, i.e. The top of page 176 shows the immediate actions that we are doing and will be doing. And so really this is to show that we are complying and working very hard to benefit the environment by the way we treat our waste.
So, any questions or comments? Philip?
Thank you, Chairman. I recognise that you indicate that the current Green Redeem scheme is going to be enhanced, Angus. I'm just wondering what you feel the outcome of the existing scheme to date has been on the waste recycling.
It's very difficult to be to get any figures of that, but I think anything we do to excite people to either start recycling if they haven't done it before, with some sort of incentive scheme, must be good. But we are working to try and make sure that what you can redeem from this is worthwhile pursuing. And that, of course, is not directly in our hands, but something we work very definitely with the relatively new company that does it. And, of course, one of the other ways that they help this process is by giving awards to schools who collect points. And it's a very exciting thing for the children, and I think they take that excitement home and hopefully get their parents then to recycle.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Pauline?
Just to say that I'm particularly pleased that we continue to have weekly household waste collections, and I really do think that the weekly black box collection has helped improve the amount of recycling. I certainly find it easier to recycle a weekly black box collection than we had with the bi-weekly before. So I'd just like to say I very much appreciate the regularity of being able to deal with waste, and I think it does help us.
Yes, just in answer to that, I'm sure you're right. We got a very step change in recycling when we went to this. It has flattened off, but we're working internally here, we've got more resource here, and working with our partners in RE3 with Bracknell and Reading to try and relaunch to get recycling up again, because waste probably is a result of, well, one obviously the more houses that we've got in the borough, but also the economic upturn. The waste stream does need more attention to restrict it as much as we can.
Any other questions?
Can I just follow up?
Yeah.
I think Angus, I'd also value us continuing with Reading and Bracknell to look at other forms of recycling and other things that we can recycle to extend the choice.
Very much on the agenda.
I've got one question, or a comment, which I'd be interested in you an answer from yourself. A lot of my residents see plastics in particular, where there's a little sign on the side that actually says it can be recycled. Yet, basically, there is no mechanisms, and I don't mean a borough mechanism, I mean nobody who wants to take it and go through the process of recycling it. I.e. the concept, just because something is recyclable doesn't mean it can physically and economically be recycled. I'd be interested in your comments on that.
That is true, and I know it's very confusing for residents. I have this problem at home. Constantly being asked what can go in the black box or not. Yes, the market for recycling these plastics is developing. I think it could have done with a bit more encouragement from central government over successive governments. There is now one place where it's been done in Halifax, and I hope that will develop so that there's a market to take the plastic and to put it into something useful. In other words, it makes money.
Thank you. No more questions, I'll go to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendations on page 174? That's unanimous. John, again, page 192, item 101, shaping our new communities.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, this document before you tonight looks to go beyond bricks and mortar of large-scale housing developments proposed in the borough. The 4 strategic development locations to set out a framework for the effective realisation of exemplary, vibrant, new and newly expanded communities in keeping with neighbourhoods across the borough. This will create hopefully sustainable strategic development communities that will be well integrated with surrounding towns and villages. What I'm asking for here tonight is the Executive to recommend to adopt this Shaping Our New Communities document as a guidance to support the decision making in the delivery of these new communities.
Thank you, John. Any questions or comments? Charlotte?
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say that this is a very valuable document for new communities, particularly like ours in Sheffield. Building has already begun, so I just wanted to say we very much welcome it.
Angus?
Yes, I think we must get ahead of these communities forming, and I look forward from my portfolio on sport and leisure, parks and open spaces and public rights of way, not only of building those in for the benefit of the communities, but also ensuring links with existing access to our towns and to our countryside.
You're right. I mean, this is a fairly new foray for us because most of our communities are already established. These new communities, one of the important things this will allow us to do is to work with town and parish councils. As you know, part of the seal contribution will go to them, and we will hopefully help them to build their new community centres and whatever facilities they feel they need, much like we're doing in Shinfield.
Any other questions, Philip?
Just a comment really, Chairman. I think it's very clear that with the STLs that we have around particularly North Wokingham, it is very important that we integrate the established communities with the new communities, and that can only be achieved, I think, by joint community facilities, and I think this is very, very important, and I very much support that.
Thank you. Any other questions? We'll move to the vote. On page 192, to adopt the Shaping New Communities document. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Page 200, changes to charging for adult social care services from April 2020.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This is one for me. This follows on neatly from a question that we had earlier on this evening. So changes for charging for adult social care. The four main recommendations this evening before the Executive. The first one is that all chargeable services will be charged for subject to a financial assessment. So that is, in plain English, if you are able to pay, if you have savings in excess of 23,250, then you are asked and will be required to make payment for your care. The new charges, as indicated to my colleague earlier, that will be capped at £40 per week until the end of March 2017. Sorry, £50, sorry, yes. The charges for respite services will be assessed on the fairer charging guidance as we proposed, and that the subsidy for Meals on Wheels contract will be allowed to terminate in March 2015. We've done a lot of work on Meals on Wheels and actually asking people what they want and why they have Meals on Wheels. We've also consulted very widely with a number of people, and the general consensus is that if we had to charge the full rate for a Meals on Wheels, most people wouldn't actually want it. So with personal budgets now, people have the choice as to what they have and how they can actually choose to have their meal prepared, and quite often now people are moving away from the traditional Meals on Wheels to actually have somebody that come in to their property to cook a meal for them or to arrange alternative provisions. So recommendation as detailed in the agenda, Chairman.
So any questions, comments? No, we'll move straight to the vote. On page 200, there's the four recommendations. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Julia, it's you. Care Act on page 232.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is the follow-up to mine. So the consultation on changes for charging for adult social care for the Care Act. I've got one small correction to make against what's in the agenda this evening, where it actually says the consultation reads between the 23rd of February to the 25th of May. It should actually read between the 3rd of February and the 5th of May. So that's just one small correction. But it is as in your agenda, but I'm happy to take any questions.
So, any questions? We're straight to the vote then. Recommendation on page 222. All those in favour, please shout. Yep. Right. The next item has part 2, so from page 246. So, can we? Obviously, there may be questions related to the part 2, but let's take part 1 first.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. This is the Peach Place redevelopment and the arrangement for the payment of infrastructure contributions. This is a recommendation that we agree as an executive to the principle of the release of money generated by Peach Place redevelopment in accordance with the viability thresholds and values that we've identified in part 2. Now, I think it's fair to say that the overall aim of the development at Peach Place is to achieve the Council's objectives for the regeneration of Wokingham Town Centre and to provide a range of socio-economic benefits to the town and its residents and businesses through the development. So this is the primary objective of the scheme, only of generating a commercially acceptable level of financial return. And that is why, because it is council-owned property, we have to review that in that sense. So I will refer you to page 250 with regards to this. And paragraph 3 talks about the value of the mitigation of the contribution, as we've set out in part 2. To ensure that the mitigation has been properly worked out, the LPA has commissioned an independent financial advisor to review and validate those findings. And the recommendations from this review will be reported back to the Planning Committee to inform the determination of the planning application. And it's also key to see here, and I stress, that the value of the infrastructure package has been independently reviewed by local planning authorities advisor. So that's very, very key. It's not just the LPA who are seen as the council, it's an independent advisor as well that's signed that. There will be then 3 reviews of the details. The first review will come 3 months prior to commencement of the application of the bill. There will be a second review and then a final review 2 years later after the completion. So this is going to be completely above board and checked at every stage. So what really I'm seeking this evening is the agreement for the in principle release of money generated by Peach Place redevelopment in accordance with the percentage we've identified in part 2. Thank you.
So, any questions or comments on the white papers only? Will there be any, or are there any questions going to be on pink papers associated? Because otherwise I'll go straight to that. No? So, can I see your vote please on page 246, the recommendations? There's 3 there. All those in favour? Thank you, that's approved. The next one, page 252, which is mine. Again, there's a part 2 section, but we'll just concentrate on the white pages. First, based on the comment from Councillor Ferris earlier, I'm going to propose an amendment. I'm not quite sure where it would fit, but I'm sure officers are going to find it. But at the amendment, to note the departure of Andrew Pickup as the MD of Optalis after a 3-year tenure, or words to that effect. Can I have a view on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All those in favour? Fine. Right, so that's the correct one. Error that Councillor Ferris picked up. Is there any other questions or comments on it? Any questions on the pink side at all? If there is, I'll have to...
Chairman, the only comment I had is to congratulate Norman Yorgis on his being chairman for Wokingham Holdings. It's a big job to undertake, and I'm sure it'll be in safe hands.
Thank you. I'm not sure whether he heard. So,
I hope he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Just not Norman. Yeah.
Sorry. We were singing your praises. And I don't know why. But, so if there's no questions on the pink paper, I'll go straight to the vote. The recommendation, just to note the changes. All those in favour? Thank you. That's the end of a very long meeting. I thank everyone for their forbearance. We declare the meeting closed at 8:40, I think it is.